Good afternoon to everyone here, to the presenters and to the guests. This is session 9, and we have 4 great presentations. My name is Michele. I am one of the moderators, and I'm going to mediate the session with Professor Daniela Garcia. So first I'm going to screen the videos, and then we are going to start the discussion. So you can take notes of your questions, type on the chat, and after the video presentation will open, right? So I'm going to start with the first video by Luis and Elena.
Okay. Hello, we'd like to talk to you today about our teletandem project between the University of Georgetown in Washington, D.C. and the University of Salento in Italy. At the moment, our project includes 30 students in the US and 30 students in Italy, and we've been this exchange has been going on for over 5 years. So at this point, we consider it a pretty successful exchange. What's the rationale behind having these teletandem sessions? And the rationale is to give our students who are motivated the opportunity to interact with an Italian student of their own age who share similar interests, and to have this exchange occur on a flexible schedule, and to allow students to negotiate meaning and exchange information in the target language, to promote intercultural confidence and develop students' language skills, and to increase students' confidence in their abilities by allowing them to practice their language within the safe space of their partnerships with students who share their vulnerabilities. And in normal times, it is to help students prepare for study abroad. At Georgetown, our teletandem project is a 1-credit course, and this is an optional course for students. Some of the students are taking other language classes, and some of them aren't. And as part of the assessment for this course, students have to upload 8 recordings of their video chats, and they have to complete self-assessment evaluations after 5 of their sessions. They attend 3 mediation sessions during the semester, and at the end of the semester, they submit a teletandem portfolio, which includes a video recording in which they describe their partners, and a 2-page analysis of their language performance as they compare a clip from a session early on in the semester and at the end. And this is an example of a post-session survey that the students complete. So it's similar to an ACTFL can-do statement.
Okay, previous studies, teletandem sessions have been studied and analyzed from different perspectives to see how e-learning can be integrated into the foreign language classroom, or to assess oral proficiency in computer-assisted foreign language learning, or to rethink the cultural component in language teaching, or to investigate the structure of teletandem discourse. Here at Tunis Salento, as you can see in the next slide, the analysis has focused mainly on language and on the English used by Italian students during these sessions. And the analysis has focused in particular on the co-selection noun plus verb and verb plus noun, because this is the most problematic for L2 learners. And students tend to misuse the verb component of this category, because this misuse seems to be influenced by the L1. We focused on 2 types of co-selections, collocations, and free combinations or open collocations that have a lower degree of restrictions on their commutability. The project involved 12 students, and we worked on the transcriptions of 40 hours of teletandem sessions. The next slide, the corpus was about 75,000 words, and this is the list of the verb lemmas analyzed. We have 86 verb lemmas. These verb lemmas were grouped into different groups, and we classified the misuses according to the classification provided by Zhang and Yang. So erroneous verb choice, misuse of like transitive verbs, erroneous noun choice, erroneous preposition after verb, erroneous choice for intended meaning, and redundant repetition. As for the result, as you can see, the erroneous verb choice was the most frequent misuse that we detected, 140 examples in the corpus, followed by erroneous preposition after verb, erroneous choice for intended meaning, erroneous noun choice, erroneous or misuse of like transitive verbs, and redundant repetition. And in the following slides, we provided some examples that we don't have time to describe, but we can discuss later in the question section. The causes of misuses are mainly two, that is to say, interlingual errors as the result of the learner's first language interference, or intralingual errors, which are caused by overgeneralization of L2 rules. But there's also a third cause, which was identified by Nesselhauf, which is the extra-linguistic factors. And this cause is due to use of dictionaries, or lack of use of dictionaries, time pressure, lack of practice, or spoken interaction. The results suggest that students do not seem to be aware of the problems collocation pose. So teachers, but also learners, should focus more on collocation and phraseology from the beginning, and not on single words, because words do not occur in isolation. And if collocations are acquired as co-selections from the beginning, misuses and errors could be reduced. And I'll leave the floor to Louise again.
So let me just talk a little briefly about our analysis. So we analyzed 10 hours of teletandem sessions in Italian, so 2 sessions per each student. Sessions 2 and session 7, and the students generally were, because they're not all in one level of Italian, they're not taking language courses at the time they take this teletandem course. There are varying levels of proficiency, from intermediate low to advanced mid on the ACT-FUL scale, and the topics discussed in these sessions varied as well, because students were not given a list of topics to discuss in each of their sessions. They were free to choose what interests them, and you can see they varied from politics to the environment to traveling and sports. At the end of the semester, students completed a survey on their perception of learning, and you see that generally they were very satisfied with how they performed in their sessions, and they believed that the teletandem project had a positive impact on their spoken Italian. They felt more fluent and more comfortable in their language use, and they felt that their vocabulary improved a lot over the course of the semester. So we wanted to track the students' performance. We tracked 3 performance indicators in these sessions. So the first one was the control of the conversation. So to track the percentage of time that the students actually spoke in the target language, the number of breakdowns per minute spoken in the target language. So when students reverted to English because they were incapable of using circumlocution to express their thoughts, and then oral comprehension, the number of cases of miscomprehension per sessions, where students clearly misunderstood their partner's speech, resulting in confusion in the conversation. And on this first slide, we can see that students, they spoke a little more towards the end of the semester in their session. They get to 47%, so closer to the desired 50%. And as this slide shows their average communication breakdowns, and here there is actually a significant decrease in their number of breakdowns from session 2 to session 7. As you can see, a t-test confirms this. And then the last the last category, the average cases of miscomprehension, we see that there is improvement here on in this category from 1.13 in their second session to 0.7 in their session 7. And further analysis, in the future, we will increase the number of students that we will include in our study, and we will look more closely at their improvements in fluency and accuracy. And Elena, did you want to add something else?
Unfortunately, we don't have time left, but I think we can, in case the audience has questions, we can discuss them later in the question section.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Video 2 by Viviane.
Hello. Thank you for attending our session. My name is Viviane Alves. I'm a PhD candidate in Language and Literacy Education at the University of Georgia. The title of this presentation is What Goes Unseen, a longitudinal study of students' interaction during telecollaboration. To contextualize my talk, I would like to share where I'm coming from. I arrived at the University of Georgia in 2012 as a Portuguese Fulbright scholar. I was teaching Portuguese language and culture. Since my very first year at UJ, I have become really interested in teletubbies. In fact, I was amazed by our students' opportunities not only to speak in the target language, but also to speak with a real person, a person other than their classmates and teachers, a person living in a city and a country that used the target language every single day. In addition to speaking with a real and different person, the students benefited from talking with someone who was usually their same age, shared similar interests, and also was a language learner, just like themselves, trying to learn a new language in a different place of the world. The partnership between the University of Georgia and the State University of São Paulo, UNESP São José do Rio Preto, gave our students the opportunity to speak with one another twice, so in 2 different courses at UJ, and roughly 7 times per semester. They spoke first in the Portuguese 2002 level, which was an intermediate level Portuguese, and then the Portuguese 3010 level, an advanced level course, meaning that they still have obviously an entire year to experience Portuguese integrated to Teletubby integrated to their Portuguese classroom. But because I study in a different program and I teach for another department, I was not the instructor of any Teletubby courses. However, I had various roles in the program. So most semesters I volunteered to be in the lab with the course instructor and help them troubleshoot and replace absent students, replacing absent students when their peers are not available, so the Brazilian peer would have somebody to speak to. In the fall of 2018, for the first time, after observing Teletubby for 5 years, I was able to co-teach an intermediate Portuguese course. And during that time, I was already part of the research group at UNESP, São José do Rio Preto. So we recorded all the students' interactions, and I watched all of them. I was eager to learn what's going on each of the sessions with the different peers, and I'm writing about these observations for my dissertation. For this presentation, I would like to share 3 poems. These poems were written from observations, from reading and reflecting on the students' responses to reflexive diaries and on the students' interactions. The first poem is called Fear of Acting Autonomously. Don't say you can't do this if you haven't even tried. It's okay to be afraid, but never quit, and this is why. You'll never know what it's really like if you never, ever try. So one of the themes that emerged from my research was this fear that the students have to be teachers and learners of their languages without the direct language instruction of their professors. And this was really salient, especially in the first interactions or before they experienced teletubbing. The second poem is a teacher's dialogue, but the title is Teacher's Monologue. So two teachers' monologue is about different beliefs on the use of translanguaging and the difference between translanguaging and code switching. Can we separate languages? And should we? Yes, they are here to learn Portuguese. They have to focus on Portuguese, and they must avoid code switching. But I disagree. Our bilingual brain does not hold to separate monolingual codes. New languages are not learned and used without reference to the other. Translanguaging, as I see, is not as simple as going from one language code to the other. Learners have a choice. Words have meaning. Okay, but our goal here is to help them master the new language. Translanguaging, for creating so many possibilities, seems to have no master. So this poem was a reflection of one of my students who didn't have enough Portuguese background in the 2000 level course to sustain 25 minutes of conversation in Portuguese. And I was amazed to see how he and her peer worked out throughout the semester and how they used their different language background to support their conversation. The final poem is about different perspectives held by North American and Brazilian students when facing technical problems. So I have observed teletubbing now for about 8 years, and I have seen several different situations during the interactions, especially during the first days. And I have shared those with my husband, who created this poem. So he's going to be reading it for you.
Hello, I'm Vince Moore. I'm Viviani's husband, and the title of this poem is Roadblocks. Red letters, mad klaxons, the program is stopped. The software, its purpose, for students, is lost. The rules here, they say we cannot deviate. We must ask the teacher to fix it and wait. Da beleza, we are fine. We can just work around it. Let's type. The sound is secondary. Our learning is the priority. Of course not. That's no good. The rules can't be tossed. We need some assistance or else we'll get lost. Calma, my friend. We are working fine using the chat. It suffices. We can just talk and learn from each other. Okay, that might work, but it's still not ideal. This mode of working, it's lacking, I feel. They talked for an hour. They stayed there for 2. The issue before? Forgotten, subdued. When Brazil meets the States, methods can clash, but agreements to work through the roadblocks yield knowledge that lasts. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. So these 3 poems for me are from 3 salient themes that go on during the interactions. And I chose them because I believe they help us understand what students are doing and what is going on in the different peer interactions, in the different labs. And I also think they are relevant as we plan our future collaborations, train the mediators, especially overseers, and train the students to participate in the teletubbing sessions. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Let's move to video 3.
Hello everyone. This presentation, UNESP Virtual Exchange for English Learning and Experience Report, aims at describing a partnership carried out by the International Language Center of the State University of Northern Paraná, UNESP Brazil, and GuTelOnX Mexico. In order to achieve our goals, we start describing the institutional settings, then the theoretical framework. After that, we present the virtual exchange, considering its main characteristics and some contributions reported by the learners. Regarding UNESP, it is a public multi-campus university founded in 2006. The current partnership was carried out in the context of the International Language Center, a project coordinated by the Coordination of International Relations, and it offers courses of foreign languages to the internal and external community. UGEMX is a private higher education institution that engaged in the partnership through the project UGEMX Proyectándose Internacionalmente, integrated to the bachelor courses in languages and focused on providing students the practice of English through a telecollaborative context of communication. Considering the theoretical framework, we highlight here some key concepts and authors who motivated our work. The first one is the concept of virtual exchange and its relationship with the internationalization processes that our educational contexts have experienced. The second one is the perspective of the role of intercultural communication for language learning. And finally, the concept of English as a lingua franca, since the participants, about 33 pairs of students, were learners of English as a foreign language, interacting with other non-native speakers of their target language. Regarding our first partnership, it was named First International Language Center and UGEMX Virtual Exchange. It was conducted from March to June 2020, period that coincided with the beginning of the restrictions to face-to-face classes due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The main goals of the program were to provide a context for the development of learners' linguistic and intercultural awareness and collaboration between learners of English as a foreign language, to provide learners pedagogical support from the teachers, and to design tasks and make use of Google Classroom to mediate the learning process. The virtual exchange consisted of 12 hours of synchronous audio, video, and written interactions between pairs of English learners, and of 8 hours of the following asynchronous tasks on Google Classroom: session diary, discussion forums, and video presentations. At UGEMX, the program was integrated into the curriculum of the courses Licenciatura em Inglês and Licenciatura em Línguas. At UENP, it was offered as a non-integrated activity open for all English learners from the institution interested in the opportunity of establishing a telecollaborative partnership. Learners were free to choose the themes of their interactions, to schedule the time of their sessions, and to choose the tools they preferred to use to keep their synchronous and asynchronous interactions. Learners also participated in a first orientation web conference and in a final meeting to share their experiences. Considering the role of our virtual exchange partnership, we consider here some results of the experience for UGEMX students, identified by the teacher Hugo Romero through the analysis of 15 narratives. It was possible to identify the following characteristics: increase in learners' motivation, feeling of accomplishment in using the language for communicative purposes with another learner, and an increased self-confidence and autonomy. Other data produced by the participants will be further systematically analyzed, but considering the engagement of the learners in the proposed tasks, we can speculate that The main motivation for participating in the program was the interaction with a foreign speaker of English and the possibility of receiving pedagogical support. The forum was not successful in promoting the exchange of experience, which led us to think on better strategies to promote whole group interactions and tasks aimed at raising learners' intercultural awareness. Teachers had an important role in mediating the learners' experiences and difficulties in conducting the partnerships, however, had limited opportunities to conduct deeper analysis of their session diaries and to assess their experiences and perspectives on the development of their linguistic and intercultural awareness. In order to consolidate the partnership, we aim to investigate the processes and contributions of virtual exchange for the development of language learners and to explore the perspectives and experiences from other research groups and institutional initiatives. Here are some of the references that motivated our perspective for the partnership. We invite you to get in contact with us to share experiences and discuss possibilities of new virtual exchange partnerships. Thank you all for your attention.
Great. Now, video 4.
Hello, my name is Janice Romero and I'm an English teacher in Antonio Santos High School located in Monteria, Colombia.
Hi, my name is Maria Eugenia Zelaya. I'm a Spanish teacher at Eastside High School in Gainesville, Florida.
This project has been implemented for around 2 years, and the main purpose is to provide learners with the opportunity to interact in the target language with native speakers. 2 goals have been accomplished so far. Number 1, the improvement and developing the communicative competences in the target language and promoting global citizenship.
Our classes are intended to help students develop communicative skills in the target language and help them envision themselves as active global citizens.
We as teachers plan the lessons using the global goals of the United Nations. The method was the project-based learning approach, and every lesson incorporated 3 main elements. Number 1 was presenting the global goals with the idea to promote small actions for students to reach the global goals as a community by 2023.
Using the target language to produce different communicative activities, learners produce speech, blogs, editorials, and letters. They also listen to podcasts, TED Talks, interviews, and read newspapers, magazines, and academic journals. The students share their final outcome with both national and international peers through telecollaboration. They share their final projects through the pre-recorded presentations and video conferences.
To execute a successful unit, several lessons were developed. In this presentation, we are outlining a lesson plan for you. Step number 1, introducing the global goal. We teachers introduce the global goal and give input to the students through different resources, written, oral text, and others. Number 2, students were divided into small groups and were matched with their sister schools in the foreign country. Number 3, a student had the choice to work in the global goal they wanted and also have this interaction with different resources from peers in their other country. It is important to highlight that this match was made taking into consideration our students' interests.
Students work in pairs to develop the final product in the target language. The exchange of ideas took place through Google Documents, posts on Padlet, Flipgrids, and through their instructors. Peer review was conducted among the students with the goal of helping their classmates improve their language skills and nurturing their ideas. In a live session, students shared their final project with their counterparts in the other country. Each group decided if they wanted to take the ideas into their community by developing a community service project. Some of them help coordinate the International Day of Peace event at one of our schools.
Outcomes of the strategy. Number one, a student's use of the target language has significantly improved thanks to the type of lesson they're developing. Number two, a student's academic performance has improved dramatically. And number three, students have been promoting projects within their community, acting locally but thinking globally.
A bonus to this virtual exchange program has been the cultural and academic exchange visit that took place last year when the students from Monteria, Colombia visited their counterparts in Gainesville, Florida.
The exchange program was an amazing experience. The people treated me very well and I'm honored to have been a part of it.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to say what a wonderful time I had in Senora Zelaya's virtual classrooms. I got to meet some great people from around the world, such as Colombia and Ecuador. I was able to practice my Spanish while broadening my horizons and learning about some really great things, such as La Feria de Cali, which I hope to be able to see in person one day. And overall, it was a really fun experience with great memories that me and my friends still talk about.
Oops. Very good. I think we can move now to the discussion, and I would like to ask Daniela Garcia to start the debate.
Sure. I would like to have the full screen and to see everybody. Let me see. Wow, good job. Such a nice, yeah, see if you can do this.
Sorry, I need to stop sharing my screen. That's what I have to do.
Yeah, wow, we have a full class. Wow, thank you for sharing your experiences. Good job to all of you. It was so nice to hear different experiences, different languages, and to see how virtual exchange has been joining people, promoting knowledge, intercultural, translanguaging, and so many concepts that we can talk now. Wow, it's very nice. So I'm going to open the chat now because I think we have some questions here. And for presentation number 1, which was Luis and Elena, I think Viviane had a question here. Presenters 4, presenters 2. Vivi, help me.
You want my question for presenter number 1?
Please. Yeah,
Yes,
please.
of course. Let me just find it. Okay, so I would like to know how you calculated the time of speech and the breakdowns of the student interactions. And I would also like to learn what you did to transcribe the data, because in addition to be a long set of data, so a lot of hours of interactions, the interactions also happen in 2 different languages. Sometimes there's interference of other languages. So it's a challenge to find somebody to transcribe the sessions for us, like a paid service. So I'd love to hear what you have been doing.
Thank you. Okay, if you could,
I can
yeah.
say, okay. Good evening for me. It's a good evening for you. It's
Wow,
a
good
good
evening.
Afternoon.
So as for the transcription, students actually carried out the transcription. It was part of the credits they were given for this project. And transcription also implies that they reflect on their mistakes and errors. And so they are, in a way, obliged to think about their mistakes the next time. I mean, when they finish their session, they transcribe the half an hour in English, and then they try not to make the same mistakes in the next session. This is the aim of I mean, the meaning of the transcription. This is why we ask them to transcribe the session. As for the breakdowns, I think that Louise should say something about that.
Yeah, so for the transcriptions for at Georgetown, we have just work studies. We hired work studies who are studying both Italian and linguistics to help us transcribe the many hours of conversations. And for the breakdowns, we listened over and over again to these recordings, and really just with a timer timed our students from when they started speaking and stopped speaking. And so it took forever to do that.
Yeah.
But it gave us a good indication, because I think, especially in this situation, Elena's students are really good at English because they're advanced speakers of English. And I think for our students at Georgetown, they're intermediate, they're novice students, you know, not novice, well, intermediate low, I would say generally. And the issue is that very often they're scared to speak, because once they do the part in English, they say, oh, wow, their English is so good and my Italian is so bad. So, you know, so this was a good indication that they were actually holding their own in the conversation, you know, so we were really happy to see that. I mean, they didn't get to 50%, but still, you know, they're holding their own in the conversation.
Yeah, good job. And you had such a large group, because you were talking about 30 students.
Now we have 30 students, because
wow.
we have 60 students in our project at the moment. So we have more students every year. So yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Wow. I would ask you, I know we have some questions here, but I'm so curious, and I just want you to try to confirm this to me. So by transcribing, this is how they got feedback from their misuses.
Elena, I think that question is for you, right?
Yes, actually, it's. I mean, they are very autonomous here in Italy, because this is they get extra credits. It's not part of my exam, because I don't have time, unfortunately, to put this project into my exam. So they work autonomously. This is why transcription could help them identify their recurring mistakes, which are very, I mean, we're talking about, I mean, they noticed that there are some of them actually didn't notice the misuses of co-selections, but most of them actually did. notice them. So it was easier for them to avoid those misuses during the 8 sessions.
Okay, thank you. I think Giovanna has raised her hand. Giovanna?
Maybe it was a mistake, Dani.
Yeah.
There are other questions here in the chat.
Sarah posed us a question to Elena and Luis in the chat.
We have a question from Paula. Did you consider the topic that was discussed, familiar, non-familiar?
Luisa, hi.
Hi, hi, Paula.
Ciao, Luisa. I mean, when you measured the breakdowns, did you consider the topic it was under discussion? Because usually when you discuss a familiar topic, you are much more fluent than when you are discussing a topic in which you are not interested in or you are not familiar with.
No, we actually didn't. Yeah.
These are the parameters to measure fluency.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to pronounce and.
No, we didn't. We were just measuring their how much they were speaking in the language and their use of the language. We didn't take that into consideration.
There is a study by the Young and Perfetti, 2011, on this, on how to measure fluency. That's very interesting what both of you are doing, because you are trying to find a way to measure if actually Teletandem helps to improve L2 competence. So you're trying to find measure it and have it data. So that's interesting. Very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
We have another question from Sarah. What do they do during the mediation sessions? Is it the professor and both students? And what's the purpose of the mediation session?
And I have 3 mediation sessions during the semester with the students. It's just me with the group of students. And during the sessions, we talk about any difficulties that the students have encountered during their sessions. And then we talk about language gains, you know, what they feel they're learning, how their language is improving, intercultural, cultural gains as well. So what the topics of their conversations are. And I take that time as well to give them a little bit of feedback, because I make sure I've listened to all of their sessions before these mediation meetings, just to give them general feedback on their language as well, because very often they're all having issues with the same thing. So it's just kind of a general feedback on how they're doing in their sessions. But I mean, we discuss everything, and technological issues as well, anything like that. Or sometimes too, we find that partners don't get along very well, and you know, so maybe we have to change partners and things like that. That has come up now and again, not very often, but sometimes, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I think we can move to the second presentation, which was Viviane's. Do we have any question? Yeah, Sarah, go ahead.
Vivi, you said at UGA you do teletending in the 2,000 and 3,000 levels. Is there a reason why you guys don't consider doing teletending in the 1,000 levels?
That's a great question. Thank you, Sarah. I think at UJ, since I arrived at UJ, it has always been like that, so 2,000 and then 3,000 level. But I also think that usually there is this belief that novice speakers would not be able to sustain 50 minutes. That's what we do, 50 minutes interaction. so they would feel more anxious. We would have to give them, for example, I have done a pilot with my 1001 level students. So I prepared them with topics. They created topics and thought about what they could speak about as we were studying in the regular class. So they could talk about family, food, colors, numbers. But there is not a specific reason at UJ. I do think we try to have only 2 classes of teletending because of the amount of work that it requires. So having a class following the other, I think is positive, because then if they experienced the thing one semester and they do it right after, they have learned so much about troubleshooting and about the diaries and interacting with their peers, that just makes sense. But I do not see any problems doing it as early as the first semester, or doing it for specific purposes later. So a translation course or a teacher education course.
Very good. Any other questions? Yeah, me, go ahead.
I have a question. So very good presentation, Viviane, and it's the first time I see data from poems, or using poems
Yeah, me too.
To make students reflect upon their experiences. And your title is What Goes Unseen. So was the poems any strategy for them to express themselves in a different way, other than the session diaries and other strategies that we use? And how was the selection of the teams? Do students write about what they experience, or how is this process?
Okay, so I think students can certainly write poems about their experiences. I think it's an excellent project that could be carried out. Just a little bit of contextualization about this presentation that I did today. It emerged from a qualitative class that I took on using AMBER with arts-based research approach to analyzing and discussing data. So these poems that I shared, 2 of them, I was the one who wrote them, thinking about my data, and then the other one was my husband's. But I think it could be really helpful, not only for the students, but also the mediators. From the observations that I have done from teletending, I've seen a lot of different feelings, emotions, and things that go unseen, and that's the title, because people do not have time to express or talk about their experiences. So it's just a different approach to data analysis and data discussion, and yeah. So I do not know if I answered your question. I do believe that students can do that, yeah, researchers as well.
And I'm so curious to hear about the end of your research.
So my dissertation is boring. It's so hard to complete a PhD.
But such an interesting theme, you know, and this approach. Wow, good job. Congratulations.
This is this is one of the approaches that I'm taking. So this is what for one of the papers, yeah. But I'm really interested in. I really liked this session because I see different yet complementary approaches. So the analysis of speech, fluency, and then the analysis of what students take away, so like globally. So for example, the last presentation, when students go to the communities and do something and work on broader professional and world goals, right? Becoming world professionals. So I think that there are so many different types of approaches to this type of research that we can use and combine.
Sure. Thank you, Vivi.
Of course.
Now we have a question. Vivi has a question for presenters number 3. So, Did you face the challenges of not integrating the interaction sections? Could you share what you did to check if students were meeting regularly and met the goal of meeting 8 times during the semester? Okay, who would like to answer that?
It's okay. Hi.
Hello.
Afternoon. It's a pleasure to be right now with you all. Okay. My name is Hugo Romero. It's okay. And so, of course, okay, there were some challenges, right? And the first one was the time difference between Brazil and Mexico. Okay. And the second one was the availability, okay, of interactions time. All right. For us, these two challenges were the most important, all right? And also we were checking, okay, each partner, sending emails, okay, say checking by WhatsApps, okay, and different apps, okay, mainly via Google Classroom, it's okay. And it's important to say, finally, okay, there were two video calls, okay, the first one at the beginning and the second one at the end of the project, I'm sorry, for sharing their experiences, all right?
Okay, I would ask about the video presentations. How were they done? Why were they for? And wow. And that's a lot of data as well, because you use Google Classroom for mediation sessions as well. Wow, good job.
Yeah, the Google Classroom was a great tool to help us in this process, but something didn't happen the way we expected. For example, we tried to use some forums with them, the question type in the Google Classroom, so it didn't work very well the way we thought it would, but the other things worked well. So they could like share their pictures, share their video interactions, so they could comment, because they would send this data for us and we would post it there in Google Classroom, so they could know the other partners too and make some friendship. And some of the students now, the project had like we finished this part of the project and they keep on talking like just good friends. So it's been so good. And it's interesting because when they were part of the project, they were speaking more in English, and now they are like expanding their horizons because they are free now. Yeah, they were having like a pause and they are like practicing their Portuguese, Spanish, and English abilities too.
Wow, good job. Accomplished, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting what we've seen, that when partnerships stopped because of the semester or the agendas, sometimes the partnership stopped for us, not for them, because they continue, they WhatsApp, they Facebook, and they go through medias, and I think this is great part of what we started with them, right? Okay. Any more questions to group number 3? Let me check here the chat. Michelle, you help me.
I don't see new questions. No, there is a comment by Viviane about the integration.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so it's interesting, the integration in this project of the use of technologies. So maybe just to comment a little bit more on this partnership, I would say that for our students from UNESP, it was their first experiences with telecollaboration. So the concept itself for them was new, because I don't know any other project related to that for our students. So the challenge of not being integrated, somehow they were overcame because our students volunteered. And it was right in the beginning of the COVID-19. So they were willing to practice their language.
And
so
you haven't met them to have it started. Wow.
No. So we advertised on social media and through emails and explained what virtual exchange means, and they joined. So they were very motivated to start the partnerships. But we have a lot to learn more in order to continue because of our context and some limitations that we have.
But that's so great, because what our experience tells that sometimes it's difficult, even if you meet students and you have orientation sessions, and this was completely new for your students, and you were not even face to face. Wow, congratulations.
And we have 3 campuses. We have 3 campuses in different cities, and they are kind of far away. So we have Jacarezinho, where Michele works, Cornélio Procópio, where I work in Bandeirantes. It's kind of closer to Cornélio Procópio, so we had some contact. And I have students from Bandeirantes too, because I work in Letras course, and Michele too, yes, in Jacarezinho. So our contact was most because of this, because we know the students, we have contact with them, we have WhatsApp groups with them. So, and we had, I guess, 3 students from another state, Michelle, yeah, because we had like 3 vacancies more, and then these 3 students that they were not part of UENP had the opportunity to participate too, and they were like very, very passionate for it. And they keep on asking when we are going to have the project again.
Wow, congratulations. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have, okay, Viviane is asking, did you collect any feedback on their experience?
For this presentation, Hugo collected narratives from his students, and we collected an assessment, general self-assessment, but we didn't have time to analyze and present the data.
Okay, can we move to the next one? So that's number 4. We have a question here. For number 4. So, could you share, is it Viviane for number 4? Yeah. Could you share some of the specific goals? No? For number 4, this one?
Yes, I just pasted it on the chat.
Okay. So could you share some of the specific goals students had to achieve by the end of the program or semester?
Jenny, you want to answer that, or you want me to take that one?
You take it.
Okay. Our goal was for them to be able to communicate in the language. You have to remember these are high school students, different levels. So just the fact that they were able to connect and speak in the target language and produce the writing, that was their goal. And for us as high school teachers, that was the biggest thing. It's different when you're teaching the high school kids compared to the college level, because in college, they pay for the class. So there is that incentive. The high school kids, we have to remember that from public schools, both of the schools, both in Colombia and the US are public. So we don't have the resources, they don't have the time outside the classroom to practice. So just the fact that they connected and they were able to speak and practice, that was their goal.
Okay, thank you. We have another question here. What kind of challenges did you encounter working with high school administrators, teachers, students, and parents in Colombia and the US?
Well, in Colombia, we teachers are really glad to implement this kind of initiative, and we also get the support from the school board. Normally, we also have our students and parents to sign a consent form where they give us the right to release pictures and exchange notes and videos among students. So it hasn't been really a challenge. It is more like of the high school, especially in Colombia.
In the
Maya,
case of,
you want to say something about the United States?
in the case of the US, at least my administrators are very supportive. Normally the parents are the same way. Like I said, we do have some limitations. We can have them one-on-one, like we would love to do. It has to be class to class. So this idea of telecollaboration, teletandem, we have to modify it a little bit because of privacy issues. That's why we do class to class, and the interaction one-on-one happens through Google Documents where they check their writing. So that's kind of the only challenge.
I guess my question, when you say class to class, you mean they work out of labs? No.
Can you repeat that?
When you say class to class, you mean they work out of labs? Laboratorios?
No, we don't have labs. At least we do have computer labs in my school, but the way we do it is my computer with one webcam that you can see my entire classroom, one microphone, so whenever they have a question, they have a comment, they come to the microphone and they speak. So we don't even have one-on-one computers. It's just one computer for the entire classroom.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have a question. In which subject was it developed? How old are your students?
In my case, they are juniors and seniors in high school, so they are 16 through 18. Okay. My class is Spanish in the IB program, the International Baccalaureate program.
Okay.
In the case of Colombia, these are students from high school. In Colombia, with teaching English as a foreign language.
Okay. Okay, good. We have some questions here. Will, would you like to make your question? Okay, you are muted. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. It connects to the Viviani's question really as well, because we discovered here in the UK that synchronous activity really didn't happen during the pandemic because of vetting concerns and questions about privacy and child protection and things like that. And I was just interested in whether that was a challenge at all for the colleagues in the United States and Colombia. I think it connects as well to Viviani's question. Yeah.
Yeah, Viviane asks, can you tell me more about what type of consent you needed to do the class-to-class interaction?
Especially the consent form is a paper where parents sign stating that they agree that pictures and videos can be released for the purposes of the classes. And also because in Colombia, me as teachers, I showcase my students' products in a Facebook page or through videos in the YouTube platform. So the evidences are all collected and then showcased in the platform, not only for me, but also for teachers from around the world. Now, in the case of the pandemic, we do still have those meetings. Maria and I also work with some other teachers from different countries, and we have kept the sessions all around the pandemic as ways to keep interacting. The only thing we don't do now is that my students gather out of the classes to work together on the same goal, okay? But during the classes, we still have that exchange, and we as teachers promote one single purpose of the lesson to keep our students exchanging ideas and talking in their foreign languages as they are learning.
As far as the US, the consent forms, I send a letter home at the beginning of the school year, just explaining the project, just explaining to the parents that this is an opportunity for their kids to practice with native speakers. And I have never had a problem with the parents saying no. They actually really like the idea. When I have my webcam, normally it just gets the back of the student's head, so they don't see their faces. Well, they can hear them. So in case anybody's concerned because the image of their kids is being displayed in a video, well, there's the back. So we're covered on that area.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other questions? I would like to thank you for sharing the pictures. It was so nice for us to see in your presentation as well. And yeah, I think everybody enjoyed that. Good job. I would like.
I have
sorry.
a question then. I think we still have like some minutes before we finish, so I'd like to ask a question. The telecollaboration is based on the global goals, the goals of the ONU, right? I would like to ask if your project belongs to any network of other telecollaborative projects that work on the same goals. Because I've seen other works related to the global goals, but not specifically on telecollaboration.
No, we're not part of any network. It's kind of hard for us to find as high school teachers a network. Normally, it just happens at a college level. So there are other teachers doing lessons, just regular lessons in their classrooms for the global goals. It's actually part of a lot of curriculums now, for example, for International Baccalaureate. But as far as a network of other high school teachers doing telecollaboration, I haven't found any. And I would love to find one, just like you'll have for college.
Something that it would be significant to add. Sorry. It would be significant to add is that's something innovative that we're trying to do as teachers. Not only teaching the language we want to promote, but also teach our students how to become global citizens, working on an issue that is related to everybody, to the whole world. And that's something that we can see it integrate perfectly well in a class that is.
I think we missed your final thoughts, Yanilis, because your microphone got cut off.
Oh, I was saying that it's significant to us to see that we are not only promoting the language, the target language we want our students to learn, but also to have them seeing themselves as agents of change. And then we can see that the class is being integrated smoothly in a very meaningful way for us as teachers and for our students.
Empowerment, right?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, Michael, we had a kind of pilot experience with high school students here once.
In California, yeah.
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 We
had an experience here.
Yeah.
The problem we encounter in this area at least is some sort of preoccupation with not just privacy but also how would I put this, messages that are transmitted between cultures. So the schools in California had heritage speakers of Portuguese practicing with Brazilian speakers of Portuguese, right? And some of the heritage speakers of Portuguese came from more conservative background, and so some of the conversations are tricky. You know, the Brazilian interlocutor will say things like, "So do you have a boyfriend yet?" You know, and the parents heard that that question had been made, and of course it was a big deal for their family. It was a big deal, and they took that to the director of the school. Questions about makeup, about earrings, about tattoos, about all this sort of stuff that you know, between high school and college is a huge leap in terms of the maturity, at least, you know, and what's expected of students in these interactions. And that line, that 18-year-old line, right? If you're younger than 18, all this falls into the hands of the parents, and it's tricky. So that's why I asked what type of challenges you guys faced, because I was married 7 years to a Colombian. It was fantastic, but I also know that Colombian teenagers share a lot of the same values Brazilian teenagers share, and so I was curious to see if that presented any problems in the negotiation. But since who was it? Was Maria Eugenia, right? She mentioned that it was the whole class that changes the interaction, right? It's not one-on-one, and so of course the one-on-one is where it gets tricky. It's impossible to really follow everyone, and that's why I asked about the lab too, because here we were dealing with the fact that students were having a hard time doing interactions after class, right? And so we created a space for them in the lab to do it during class, and that was, it was, you know, the teacher had more control over it, and we could go around, but still only if you see the recordings that you can really tell what type of conversations happened, you know. And so that's where the tricky 18-year-old line comes into play, you know. So we're all excited to do it. I've spoken to high school teachers here in Maryland about it, in Montgomery County. Everybody's excited about it. They're just worried about the logistics, about what can you do, you know. And once you get into one high school foreign language program, others pop up within the same county, because they're constantly seeing each other in annual meetings of, you know, recycling, learning new techniques and things like that. They talk to each other, and so it spreads virally. And so it's something that I would like to figure out, because I think that the younger students start, I think the more they get out of it, you know. But anyway, so I'm proud of you too. It's a tricky topic. It's difficult, but you guys are facing it head on. So congrats on the work.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing. This experience is very rich because of challenges faced and the challenges to be overcome, right? Okay. I would like to remind you that the attendance list link is here on our chat. So please, I would like you to access and provide your data here for the certificates and control of attendance, right? So, Michele, do you have anything else?
I saw a message here by Viviane. So if anybody is interested in starting partnerships, right, Viviane? So you can.
I'll share this link really quickly. So this is a survey UJ did 3 years ago of Portuguese programs throughout the US, and it's available online for free. So just I wanted to share with, because people have been contacting me about K-12 schools in the US that would like to partner. So this survey has the contact information of the district and the teachers, the Portuguese teachers. It was a project that was done by one of my colleagues 3 years ago, and then she called each program and got those contact information. So that might be helpful for people searching for partnerships in here. But I do not know if Maria Eugenia and Ian is you and Elise have time to speak to this, but I think one of the challenges we faced here in Georgia is actually financial. So there was not, the schools have a computer lab in the US, but they do not have a computer lab with 35 computers, 35 headsets, and space to separate the students for the interactions. And I think in South America, this challenge is even bigger.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we're doing a class-to-class. Privacy concerns, logistics, the teacher having control of the conversation. And as far as resources, even here in the US, I purchased the webcam through a grant. I purchased the microphone that we use through a grant. And I know I have been able to do also a grant for the microphone that they use in Colombia, for example. So we're very creative when it comes to finding resources and trying to find that way to connect the students.
Yes, we don't wanna have our students being away from the chance to interact with other native speakers, as long as we teachers are creative enough to just bring them into the chance. That was something that I wanted to say before we leave in. I brought my students from very low income families to the United States. And it was a big challenge and also like accomplish a really big goal for my students who also envision a different way to see life once they have experience living in America.
Thank you, Yanilis, Maria Eugenia. I would like to congratulate all the presenters and thank you all for your participation. And Dani?
Yeah, I just would like to thank you for sharing experience and motivation and challenges. This is how we move forward, right? Okay, thank you very much. And we expect you for the next sessions and next talks.